We have God-sized goals and divine dreams. So that fear-fueled ambition is not going to get us there. My argument is not that it doesn't get results. My argument is that it's not sustainable. Perfectionism has a really good PR. We need to talk about it. Perfectionists think they're high achievers because they have so much in common. They both refuse to settle. They know that they're capable of greatness, and they're ever evolving. But never settling is not the same as never satisfied. And ever evolving is not the same as ever correcting and ever overlooking good enough. High achievers know when good enough is good enough. They don't major in the minors, and they know when to accept what's in front of them and go ahead. So before you embark on your next big project or start overhauling another area of your life, I want you to ask yourself, am I raising the bar or am I moving the goalpost? First thing we've got to do is call a spade because perfectionism can go by so many different labels. It's been described as many different things, but if you ask me, perfectionism is fear and shame dressed up as productivity. If we're honest about it, hiding behind those high standards is fear of inadequacy, anxiety around failure, and judgment. Sometimes the judgment is not even external, but it's fear of not living up to our own expectations of ourselves. I think I've dealt with perfectionism for as long as I can remember, but my most potent memory being in middle school when I scored in the 98th percentile on a test and I didn't understand why I wasn't in the 100th percentile. Granted, I don't think anybody quite explained the concept of percentiles to me and didn't map that onto the real figures of how many thousands of kids were taking this test that I was taking. But I was like, well, why am I not 100th percentile? And I remember having a teacher tell me, like, you cannot live like this. You are going to make yourself sick. Maybe physically so, but definitely mentally so. And she was right. I cannot overstate how much perfectionism is a double-edged sword because the same thing that is my Achilles heel is also the reason that I graduated high school with a 4.0. It's also what allowed me to get my bachelor's in 3 years with honors, making dean's list every single quarter. Like, perfectionism, I gotta say, that fear of mediocrity, man, is honestly a driving force. My argument is not that it doesn't get results. My argument is that it's not sustainable. Eventually, that same voice that will not allow you to settle for good enough will not allow you to settle for good enough. Doesn't matter if you're tired. Doesn't matter if you're sick. Doesn't matter if you legitimately gave your best and your best is at 89%. It doesn't want to accept that. And the issue with that is that there's no room for grace. It discredits resiliency, and it's a crazy hurdle to overcome when you're a beginner. For so many perfectionists, we probably got the hang of a few fields when we were very young. So we haven't had to be a beginner in quite a long time. But when you're a perfectionist and you're trying to set out on a new endeavor, whether it's a business idea, whether it's starting a new program of study, whether it's moving to a new place, whether it's being single for the first time in a while, it's torture. And the call is coming from inside the house. We were never meant to be fueled by fear. It's just not in our design. God tells us in his word that he has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And it also tells us that there is no fear in love because perfect love casts out fear. So if God is love, if we are made in his image, and we know that love is a fruit of the spirit, fear has no place in any of that. We are firmly in a time where hustle culture is so sneaky and insidious. Every time you turn around, somebody is reinventing themselves. Every time you turn around, somebody is overhauling their whole identity. We don't have the appetite for growth anymore. We only have the appetite for starting over. Part of it definitely comes from social media and seeing people at their finish lines. True story, I had to get off LinkedIn for a while because I was so tired of seeing post after post after post every day of people hitting these major milestones. And of course, they were things that they had been working for years. You don't see that full story. Even if somebody says, after countless sleepless nights, I'm so glad to have achieved this. All your brain sees is look at what they've accomplished. Look what they've got going for them. So because society as a whole right now just seems to be so infatuated with these highlight reels of people's lives, perfectionists have been able to fly under the radar. But I did not just come here to fuss at you. I actually have some action items for you. Can't you tell that I was a straight A student? Because I'm even assigning myself homework. Something I want you to do is revisit your old goals. If you have them written down somewhere, either in a journal or in your notes app, then that's perfect. If not, then just reflect on things that you remember yourself wanting. Think about the last time that you really strove for something. And it could be big or small, it's entirely up to you. Of those goals, pick 3 to 5 that you have actually achieved. You got it? After that, I want you to write out, how did you celebrate each one? One of the biggest telltale signs of a perfectionist is that they aim high and have very little room for self-recognition. Because, and this is the big difference between high achievers, it's not usually fueled by something like validation. Perfectionists know you don't really want the praise of other people because other people are very rarely living the standard that you hold yourself up to. So for somebody who's mediocre to tell you that you do a good job, that doesn't mean much to you, right? That's okay. I'm not judging you. A high achiever has some end goal. Perfectionism is a never-ending loop. So one of the telltale signs of perfectionism is that you shoot for the moon and forget the stars. You could land on the moon itself, but you will not celebrate it. You'll just be thinking, oh, why didn't I get to the sun? I know that the science says that I'd burn up, but maybe I could design a suit so that then I wouldn't burn up. Respectfully, I want you to be careful. Not something that somebody else celebrated. Not, oh, I graduated and somebody threw me a party. You graduated. Did you buy yourself a graduation present? Did you sit down and take some time and reflect and thank yourself for all the hard work you did to get yourself there? You got a promotion. You were dying for the promotion. You had 5 rounds of interviews and your boyfriend took you out to dinner. But what did you do for yourself? Right. The next thing I want you to do is examine some of your current goals and ask yourself, are any of these derived from previous goals? As in, did I previously set out to save $5,000 and now I want to save $10,000? Did I previously set out to lose 7 pounds and now I want to lose 20 pounds? Whatever the case may be, do you have any current goal that is related to a previous goal? And I ask that because I want to know, is there any way that you can acknowledge what you've already accomplished before you move on to that next goal? I want you to take a second and thank yourself and celebrate yourself for how far you've come. And lastly, as you look back over those previous goals, as you look back at what you've achieved and look ahead to what you want to accomplish, have you taken the time to thank God for His provision, His grace, His mercy, and His hand in all that you've accomplished? Here's the thing. A forgotten answered prayer is forgotten faithfulness. God actually doesn't ask us to live a life of blind faith. He shows us faithfulness day in and day out. But sometimes we just have short-term memory loss and we just can't remember the last time that He came through for us. So not only are you discrediting yourself, but more importantly, you're discrediting the God that got you there. So the last thing that we're going to do, and this should be an ongoing practice, we need to pick a place where we document our answered prayers. It can be a scrapbook, it can be a photo album, it can be a journal, whatever floats your boat. But one of the traps of that perfectionist mindset is that because you've discounted your previous achievements, because you discounted the things that you've overcome in the past, you don't have much to give you that beacon of hope when you're navigating a new challenge. Because every day in every area, there's a new challenge that we've assigned to ourselves. As I mentioned earlier, the key here is sustainability and living by God's design. God did not design us to be driven by fear. He did not design us to be driven by anxiety. In fact, He says, be anxious for nothing, but in prayer and supplication, make your requests known unto Him. There's a reason that those perfectionist tendencies take such a hard toll on our heart and mind, because we weren't designed to live that way. We have God-sized goals and divine dreams. So that fear-fueled ambition is not going to get us there. So we need that something tangible, even if it's a digital archive. We need something that we can readily access and look at that can remind us who we are, who we serve, and what we're capable of. If you're into faith-filled chats about overcoming depression, anxiety, and just becoming the best versions of ourselves, then this is pretty much the place for you. So you might as well join the family. And if you want more conversation about overcoming perfectionism, click this video.